What an amazing performance. I certainly wish I could still do that, but I'm a little bit older now, so I'll leave that to the young folks. Good afternoon, everyone, and Happy New Year to you all. I'm thrilled to see all of you here today. I'm sorry we're having some problems with technology. Please bear with us. Welcome to the second annual celebration honoring the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Before we begin our program, I would like to take a few minutes of silence to recognize the loss of one of Gallaudet's family members, Miss Laura Snyder Gardner, and her daughter, Mary Ann. Laura and Mary Ann were killed last week in a house fire. It's never easy when we lose a member of our campus community. At this time, I would like to honor their lives in a moment of silence. Thank you. We ask that you keep the family in your thoughts and prayers during this difficult time. The family has a scholarship honoring the lives of these two individuals. If you would like to donate to the scholarship, please do be in contact with the Development Office. As I've already mentioned, this is the second annual celebration honoring the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. 2 weeks ago, January 21st, I hope that wherever you were, be it Alabama, California, or New York, that you were able to join in the celebration by serving in some way. That is what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s life was about. I was happy to hear that Gallaudet University had 18 individuals who participated in a National Day of Service. This group worked with local organizations and packed items to send to those providing service in Afghanistan, and that was their way of giving back to the community. That's what MLK is about. It's not about shopping or looking for sales. Instead, it is a National Day of Service. So it was nice to know that 18 members of the Gallaudet community were able to be involved in that service. I would also like to give kudos to Dr. Mary Keene. Her office worked with the Commuters Program in order to recruit the 18 people that were able to participate in that day of service. So that was very nice. Well done, Dr. Keene. As we reflect on the life of Dr. Martin Luther King, I remember vividly when his life was cut short in April 4th of 1968. His life had an impact on us as individuals, us as Americans, an impact on the world. So you can imagine my excitement for being able to host this program for you all today. Before we continue with the program, I would like to thank two individuals, our Graduate Assistant for Office of Diversity and Inclusion, Mercedes Hunter and Janice Johnson, who worked together to bring faculty and staff together for today's program. Thank you so much. They designed the entire program. They were able to work with various individuals to express the impact that Martin Luther King had on the world. So please do sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I would like to introduce our MCs for the show, Julia Wallace and Lorenzo Burrow. Please welcome them to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Julia Wallace, and I am a senior majoring in social work.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Lorenzo Burrow. My major is in sociology and criminology, and I'm a freshman here at the university.
We have a variety of performances for you, and we hope that you enjoy each and every one of them. The first performance will be by Dr. Thomas Horhus.
He'll be reciting a poem entitled Sympathy. It's a great honor to be here with you today. I will be presenting to you a poem written by Paul Laurence Dunbar. He's an African American born in 1873. He was born in Dayton, Ohio. He was born to parents who were slaves, and even though he'd grown up in the North, he saw a great deal of racism at that time. That was also the time of the passing of Plessy versus Ferguson in 1876, which was the end to the separate but equal doctrine, because the courts realized that separate was in fact inherently unequal. So he took those experiences of his life, created them into a personal experience which he presented in this poem, Sympathy. This particular poem actually also had an impact on Maya Angelou, who wrote a book entitled I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. It was a famous autobiography that was well received by the society and actually came from one of the first lines of Dunbar's poem, Sympathy. I know what the caged bird feels, alas, when the sun is bright on the upland slopes, when the wind stirs soft through the springing grass, and the river flows like a stream of glass, when the first bird sings and the first bud opes, and the faint perfume from its chalice steals, I know what the caged bird feels. I know why the caged bird beats his wing till its blood is red on the cruel bars. For he must fly back to his perch and cling when he fain would be on the bough a swing. And pain still throbs in the old, old scars, and they pulse again with a keener sting. I know why he beats his wing. I know why the caged bird sings, ah me, when his wing is bruised and his bosom sore. When he beats his bars and he would be free, It is not a carol of joy or glee, but a prayer that he sends from his heart's deep core, but a plea that upward to heaven he flings. And I know why the caged bird sings. What an amazing poem that is. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I. The next performance that we'll be having is going to be by Colin Analco.
Colin will be performing the I Have a Dream speech.
I say to you today, my friends, even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even in the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, I have a dream that my 4 children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama with this vicious racist, with this governor having its lips dripping with the words of interposition and mullification, where little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream. I have a dream that every valley shall be exalted. Every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. And when this happens, when we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of us, God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing. Sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
What an amazing performance. In 1963, over 200,000 people attended the March on Washington. They were able to watch the speech by Dr. King entitled I Have a Dream. There was such a diverse crowd gathered on the mall, and all of those participants believed in civil rights. Our next presentation will be by Gary Hill.
Gary Hill will be performing a character portrayal of President Barack Obama. Hello, I am Barack Obama. I was born August 4th, 1961. My parents met at the University of Hawaii. My father was from Africa, and my mother from Kansas. It was taking a class at university that met each other and fell in love and ultimately were married and gave birth to me. Regrettably, their marriage ended in divorce. Once my father had graduated, he returned to Africa. And my mother went on to the University of Washington, where she remained for 1 year before returning to the University of Hawaii. It was at this time that she was at the University of Hawaii that she fell in love with a man from Indonesia. She married him, and upon graduation, they both moved to his home country of Indonesia. I was a young man growing up in Indonesia, around 5 or 6, when I went back to Hawaii. I went to go live with my grandparents, where I attended a private school. Once I graduated from high school, I went to a California community college and decided that Wesley wasn't for me. From there, I went to Columbia University in New York City. Once I graduated from there, I went on to Harvard University, where I began my studies in law. It was at Harvard that I became involved in the Harvard Law Review, and after some fierce competition, I became the first Black president of that organization. Not only was that an impressive feat, but it garnered a lot of attention. After that, I began to receive any number of individuals who wanted me to go work for their firms, offering me as much as $100,000 or more as a starting salary. But I decided to go back to Chicago, where I came from, and I was working and gaining experience as a lawyer. It was there that I began to learn from a mentor of mine, Michelle Robinson. We worked together, we learned together. I tried to date her, but she didn't seem very much interested in that at all. But ultimately, I did prevail. She did go out with me and did me the honor of becoming my wife. In 2005, while in Chicago, I decided to run as a senator from Illinois for a Senate seat, and I won that seat. From there, in 2008, I made my next major decision. I decided to run for President of the United States. Once again, I garnered a great deal of attention, not just from this country, but globally. So I went toe-to-toe with John McCain. We both campaigned to beat the band, but when the final votes were tallied, I had won. 4 years down the road, I decided to run for a second term, this time going against Mitt Romney. We both again campaigned to beat the band, but once again, when the votes were finally tallied, as close as it seemed, I came out the winner and remain the 44th President of the United States. I give a great deal of gratitude and thanks to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who stood for equal rights to everyone. And on his behalf, I want to pay it forward. And so I made the decision to nominate Sonia Sotomayor, who was an intelligent, strong, and bright woman, to become a Supreme Court justice. Ultimately, when the time came for the Senate to take a vote, she received a majority of those votes, and in fact, she is now Justice Sotomayor, the first Latina justice in the history of the United States.
Hello and welcome. I feel honored to be here this afternoon. I am Sonia Sotomayor. People know that I am the first Latina woman appointed to the Supreme Court. You may think that I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth, but that couldn't be further from the truth. I grew up in a poor family that wasn't well educated. My father was Juan, and my mother was Selena. They met during World War II in Puerto Rico. They fell in love and got married. They then decided that they wanted children, but knowing the situation in Puerto Rico, they weren't comfortable raising their children there, so they decided to move to America. I was actually born in the Bronx. There, we lived in the projects. And as you may be familiar, the projects are for those who can't afford a better place to live. It was my brother Juan and I going through life, and at the time, life was tough. My mother worked as a telephone operator and then as a nurse. My father worked as a farmer and then became a mechanic. My parents sacrificed everything for my brother and I. When I was 8, I was diagnosed with diabetes. This was something that was very challenging for my family to have to deal with. However, once again, my parents were totally supportive. My father passed away when I was 9. My mother became a single mom and had to do her best to provide everything that we needed. My mom is such a wise woman, and she never gave up on us. She taught me 2 important things. The first, the value of being fluent in English, and the second, the value of an education. I grew up reading about the character Nancy Drew and watching the television show Perry Mason. Both of these inspired me to become a judge. I graduated from high school in 1972 and received a full scholarship to Princeton University. I felt very fortunate in that regard because I couldn't have afforded college otherwise. I joined various Latino student organizations, but at the time, I still struggled with my grammar. I got feedback from professors and ended up taking additional classes to improve my English. I also got a tutor to do so as well. I graduated from Princeton with a degree in juvenile delinquency, and then I entered Yale Law School with a full scholarship. I graduated from Yale in 1979. I also had the opportunity to work on various cases, including cases involving child pornography and police brutality. I was first nominated to the bench by Daniel Moynihan, a Democratic senator from New York, and was nominated to various other judgeships by George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, and finally, President Barack Obama. I am honored to be here and especially want to give my message to those from various backgrounds who need to know, as long as you have a dream, you can pursue it. Never, never give up. I never gave up. Martin Luther King never gave up, and I encourage you to do the same.
That was awesome to see the swearing in of Sonia Sotomayor by President Obama. Obama is a really amazing person, and it's fascinating to see how he's wanted to change the world in such positive ways. The next person who'll be coming on stage is Eduardo Madera.
Eduardo will be sharing with us a reflection.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's such an honor to be here on stage before you. My name is Eduardo Madera, and the reason I'm here is I want to talk to you about someone who I think we should know about. I want to talk about David Paterson, who actually became mayor of New York. In 1985, he ran for a Senate seat in New York and actually won, at the age of 31, making him the youngest senator from that state in its history. When he was born, he actually contracted a virus that affected his optic nerve and caused him to become blind. He had a lot of struggles in the school systems from that point on. They kept trying to put him into special needs classes, but he said that he didn't want to be in those. He wanted to be treated as everyone else was. Oftentimes, people feel that everyone should be treated all the same all the time. But the fact is that we are uniquely defined as individuals, and in his case, by vision. He ended up graduating from high school, went on to college, where he attended an Ivy League university, Cambridge University. And he actually, while he was there in his first semester, managed to make the dean's list. But after that, he started having a lot of problems and was unable to maintain his status academically. And through the advice of one of his professors, he was encouraged to perhaps take some time to go out and learn how to advocate for himself before returning. Once he had done that, and he felt that he had learned how to do that, he came back and completed his studies to receive a BA in history, and then went on to Long Island. And then, of course, as I said earlier, in 1985, he went on to run for the New York Senate. And again, he won the position of mayor of New York, and is one of the most important African-American figures for this reason. And he deserves our recognition because of his dedication, his perseverance, and the fact that he overcame so many obstacles. No matter what they threw at him, he overcame those goals. And it was through this idea of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream that we see realized in people like David Paterson, where he advocated for diversity, regardless of disability, how we looked, what our sexual orientation was, what our socioeconomic status is, what our genders are, that regardless, we are all equal as human beings. And for this reason, we're here today to give our thanks to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
The first blind mayor certainly had to work hard to overcome various challenges. The next performer will be Nat Plew.
She will be doing a recitation of the poem Broken Faith.
I live, I cry, I hope for redemption. The lens depends. Am I a friend or foe? Am black? Am deaf? To the next one. Reckon with force. I'm not limited to age, gender, or race. It's pain inside the rain as I see through my eyes, oppressed by the media. Spiritually major. Stay strong and be young, or old to the fools. Can't fight your rules, nor quarrel with demons. Forgiveness is the action. Repentance to freedom. Took that for years. Now gravity press, the earth understands. I'm strong inside, physically nervous, spiritually gain. Angels of devotion manipulates my lane. Cried for others, contesting with the devil, wishing I was dead, wishing me evil. Why don't nation of entire universe improve my underrepresentation? Deserve to live, won't terminate. Recognize broken faith. Contract, fire in my mind. I see every shadow. Darkness turned to light, days turned to night. Every smile I fight to the kingdom of purity. Forgive your adversary. Can't break me down, still I stand faithfully.
What a great performance of that poem. I think it was amazing how she was able to express her feelings in such an amazingly poetic way. Next, we're going to have Ryan Barrett coming to the stage.
He will be performing a character portrayal of Harvey Milk.
Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to see so many of you here supporting Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. What a wonderful man he was. And to see so many people acting on his behalf and inspiring me as well as many of you. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. looked at his community and saw the suffering and pain and oppression that was taking place there and the fear, and wanted to figure out how he could heal that. Do it in a way that would not cause more pain and more suffering through doing something that would be warlike. Rather, he advocated for a pacifist approach. And it was through that peace could happen and we could all be inspired to do the same. And I feel that way about my community. I see a lot of suffering. I see us relegated to subhuman status. And of that I'm speaking of is the LGBT community. For those of you who may not know, that stands for lesbian, gay, bi, and transgendered. So I'm here to recruit you. Now, maybe you're wondering, what do you mean you're trying to recruit me? Probably not in the way that you think I mean that. I'm not asking that you become lesbian or gay. Of course, there's always forms you can fill out if you want, but that's not really what I'm talking about here. What I want to do is recruit you to be the work that both I and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. have done, so that we can enjoy the beauty and the vibrancy of life. I've already told you who I am. I'm Harvey Milk, but who really am I? Well, I was the first openly gay man who ran for a political position. And I ultimately ended up being in the Board of Supervisors in San Francisco, California, back in 1977. I don't know, is there anybody out here in the audience from California? Yeah? Great to see you all here. I worked in District 5 on Castro Street. You probably saw there, if you've ever been there, there's rainbow flags at every turn. You can't miss it, right? So I spent a lot of time and energy there in the Castro, working for the equality of lesbians and gays. When I first ran for political position, though, I did not succeed. But I decided that it just required a little more work on my part, so I did it for a second time, and I still did not succeed. So I rolled my sleeves up further still and went back to work and still failed on a third time. But I did, after that, finally get elected to the Board of Supervisors. You know, when I was in middle school, I was unaware that I was gay, but I was very awkward. I had big ears, big feet. My classmates always made fun of me because I looked like a clown, and they said so. I went on to college where I learned to become a mathematics teacher. And I did have relationships with men, but certainly not out in the open. We never went out in public for dinners or walks in the park or anything. There was a lot of shame involved in society giving us messages about what it was to be lesbian and gay. Silly of that, really. It was always the message we got that, it's supposed to be men with women, not any other way. That if you want to succeed, that's the only way to do it. And I thought to myself, wow. And that belief system took root in me. And I think it was from there that I began to take the oppression I experienced and oppress others as a result. And that all came out of fear. Fear causes the need to oppress. It causes attention we don't need. But I wanted to be like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said it's okay to be who you are. We're here. Interestingly enough, both of us were assassinated for trying to do peaceful movements. And again, that's born out of the fear of men. People whose minds are not right, who don't think in the way that they ought to. Now, does that mean, therefore, that the work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and mine was of no avail? No, that's not true. It meant a great deal. It used to be that just for virtue of being gay or lesbian, you could be fired from a position, but no more. More and more, we see that human rights are being accorded to everyone, regardless of who they are. And we want to continue spreading this message of love like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did. And I hope that you'll join me in that effort.
Harvey Milk was an inspiration to many. He showed great courage as the first openly gay politician. He should be commended for his bravery. Our next performance will be by Thaddeus Young.
He will be performing a character portrayal of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. My brothers and my sisters, my family, my friends, and all honored guests, thank you for coming today to this celebration. As you sit here and I stand before you, and we take in all that has been said, however you take it in, we're looking at setting up equal rights for everyone. All of the speeches that we've seen given to this point has been inspiring. Such work, such achievements. An African American president, an African American governor, and poet, and dancer, and Supreme Court justice. It makes me think and takes me back to my own life. I remember well back in 1955. That was in the days when bus seats were relegated to different races. The front for the whites and the back for the blacks. The black community grew tired of this inequity and this injustice. They came together as a community, discussed what to do, and created an organization, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And it was from there that the Montgomery bus boycott was born. It wasn't done in a violent way. It wasn't even done in a stentorian way. People sat quietly and refused to leave those seats. Many black people were put in prison as a result, it's true, but ultimately the effort was effective. Ultimately, the segregation of bus seats ended. And I remember 4 years later, people came together for the March on Washington, D.C. The speech I gave was at the Abraham Lincoln Memorial. And off in the distance, you can see the Washington Monument. And in that distance, it was covered with people. I saw people everywhere. It was one of the most inspiring moments of my life. And there I began my famous I Have a Dream speech. I had no idea that I would be changing the course of American history that day. Here we are in 2013, and I look down and see what's going on here at the United States. From 1955 to 2013, the changes are short of miraculous. How far we have come. How well our communities have grown. More and more our societies are becoming one. Understanding among peoples is growing. Respect for people is growing. Even Dr. Angela McCaskill, who's here with us this afternoon, is the first deaf black woman to have gotten her doctoral degree. Who's next? Again, I want to express my thanks to all of you for coming here today. And always remember to follow your own dreams. Always keep your chin up. You, and you back there, and you too. I see you way back in the back. You too. You can achieve great things. And the way that you do that is because each and every one of you can serve. Thank you.
We actually want to share our own feelings about Dr. King. Growing up, I really was not familiar with Dr. King. I saw him on television and I saw him on posters, but I didn't really know what he was about until I arrived to college. And at that time, I took a course related to the civil rights movement. As a part of that course, we discussed Dr. Martin Luther King in great detail. And at that time, I was inspired. Martin Luther King is a personal hero. And for the rest of that class, we discussed his work, his life, and his legacy. I would actually like to thank the two professors of that class, Karen Terhune and Amy Stevens. That class truly benefited us as students.
When I think about Martin Luther King Jr., I think what an incredible human being he was. He has inspired me beyond words as a black individual in terms of how I could see my own future. And I think one of the most important things to know about Dr. King was that he always chose love over hate. Our next character portrayal will be done by Mr. Bunmi Aina.
He will be presenting a reenactment of the Nobel Peace Prize acceptance speech. Your Majesty, Your Royal Highness, Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I accept the Nobel Prize for Peace at a moment when 22 million Negroes of the United States of America are engaged in a creative battle to end the long night of racial injustice. I accept this award on behalf of a civil rights movement which is moving with determination and a majestic scorn for risk and danger to establish a reign of freedom and a rule of justice. I am mindful that only yesterday in Birmingham, Alabama, our children, crying out for brotherhood, were answered with fire hoses, snarling dogs, and even death. I am mindful that only yesterday in Philadelphia, Mississippi, young people seeking to secure the right to vote were brutalized and murdered. And only yesterday, more than 40 houses of worship in the state of Mississippi alone were bombed or burned because they offered a sanctuary to those who would not accept segregation. I am mindful that debilitating and grinding poverty afflicts my people and chains them to the lowest rung of the economic ladder. Therefore, I must ask why this prize is awarded to a movement which is beleaguered and committed to unrelenting struggle, to a movement which has not won the very peace of brotherhood, which is the essence of the Nobel Prize. After contemplation, I conclude that this award, which I receive on behalf of that movement, is a profound recognition that nonviolence is the answer to the crucial political and moral question of our time. The need for man to overcome oppression and violence without resorting to violence and oppression. Civilization and violence are antithetical concepts. Negroes of the United States, following the people of India, have demonstrated that nonviolence is not sterile passivity, but a powerful moral force which makes for social transformation. Sooner or later, all of the people of the world will have to discover a way to live together in peace, and thereby transform this pending cosmic elegy into a creative psalm of brotherhood. If this is to be achieved, man must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love.
What a great speech.
Our final performance will be by the Gallaudet Dance Company. As you enjoy their performance, if you're familiar with the song, feel free to sign along.
The Gallaudet Dance Company will be performing to We Shall Overcome.